Hello guys, 18 Dapper here and welcome to this ad hoc video, ad hoc live stream. Obviously news coming out of Doncaster Rovers this afternoon, this lunchtime, that Danny Schofield has been relieved of his duties, sacked as Doncaster Rovers head coach at the end of a disappointing season. Overall, obviously, we've been around the houses, we've gone backwards and forwards on it. The board came out and said that we're going to bounce back decisively. Obviously, 18th in League Two is not bouncing back decisively. So I figured get back from work. I've got a little bit of time. So sort out a live. The link to the StreamYard is in the chat. So if you want to join and have a discussion about it, you're more than welcome. But kind of just getting my thoughts out there in maybe a 10 to 20 minute video. So yeah, get your comments in and we will discuss everything to do with Doncaster Rovers and Danny Schofield sacking. And like I say, the link to this StreamYard is in the chat. So please, by all means, come on and we'll have a chat about it. So my thoughts initially, I mean, I nailed my colours to the mastard, and here we go. We've got Charles in. Be a few minutes and he'll be on. It'd be nice to have Chal on the channel. Obviously, the best Donny Rovers YouTuber and the second best. You decide which one it is. But no, I really enjoyed Chal's content, so it'd be nice to get him on to have a chat about this. I know he did a Twitter space earlier. I need to catch up on that because I've been at work, so I couldn't listen to it. But yeah, I think, like I say, I nailed my colours to the mast quite early on, and I said that Danny Schofield needed a transfer window. He needed time. Obviously, the board and Cops, I'd assume, have made a decision that it wasn't good enough. In terms of the statement, I mean, I've put a tweet out earlier. I don't like it as a statement. I really don't. I think it's diverted any blame away from David Blunt. In all honesty, I think he said that obviously Danny's not had a transfer window. He's not been able to build his own squad. Yeah, there's been injuries, but I think we can all agree that the team wasn't really gelling. It wasn't really working, even with a full team together. There were green shoots every now and then, but it wasn't enough. Jeremy's saying Doncaster is in crisis. It's a big statement. I don't know if we're in crisis. I think we're tumbling down the table. There's no two ways about that. It's been a downward trajectory for a few seasons now, 4 or 5 seasons. So I think we need to do something to stop the momentum, the downward momentum that we've got, and it's going to take something big, not only to stop that momentum, but also to turn fans' opinions around at the moment. I've had a bit of to and fro with a few fans over this season. Obviously, football is an opinion-based sport, and that's why we love it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. It just so happens that some of us have got a platform and opinions are scrutinised a little bit more, and completely get that. But yeah, I although he's gone, I still stick by it. We'll never know if he could have turned it around. I think looking at the stats, it's a difficult one to argue for. I can completely understand people's frustrations with the way that we've played, the results that we've got, and everything that's surrounding that with Danny Schofield. But I just feel, like I said on Twitter, that we've asked somebody to make an omelette without breaking eggs, and he's just not had the tools to do the job. And I believe that is from the chairman. We've seen it when Darren Moore left, under Andy Butler, thrown under the bus. Richie Wellens, he's demonstrated that he's a fantastic manager this season, winning the League Two championship. I feel he wasn't given the tools to do the job at Doncaster. And then you move on to McJeffrey, again, lack of experience, and did the best with the tools that he had at his disposal. And the points that he earned at the start of the season, how important are they now? Because since Danny's come in, it's not been good enough. We've got a couple more comments in the chat. Feel they should have given till December. I'd agree with that. I think a couple of months ago they came out and said that there's this injection of funds, there's a ring-fenced playing budget, however much that is, that's open to debate. But the backed him. They're fully committed to Danny, and I know sometimes it's the kiss of death when a board give that sort of backing, but I don't know. It just seems a really strange time to do it. I mean, Charlie's in the chat as well. Why wait till the end of the season, right before a transfer window? I'd agree with that. Chal is here. Let's bring you in, Chal. Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. I was shocked when the thing came out. I wanted to give Schofield the summer as well, but it is what it is. We take it. I sent a message to Danny saying best of luck for future and that, and always here if you want to chat in future. And next season's a bigger rebuild than we thought originally. We move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because like I'm on the same page as you. I wanted to give him the summer, give him a transfer window. Personally, I thought we saw glimpses of what we could be under Danny with a full strength team, but I can understand the other side of the fan base that were wanting him gone because it's a results game and he wasn't getting the results. And I mean, Josh was saying results didn't come at the start of the O'Driscoll era. That it's right, but I don't think from memory, without looking deep into it, I don't think the form was as bad as what we've had under Danny. I mean, I saw a post on Twitter last night, I think it was, under Danny Schofield, 33 games, and we're currently sat 22nd in the form table. So I can understand the decision to let him go, but in the same breath, I find it difficult after committing to next season. So do you think? Well, we'll never know if it's the right decision because we'll never know if he'd have done anything. But I mean, initial thoughts, mate. Go for
it. First of all, I want to say this: the players are not exceeded from any blame whatsoever. I think part of the reason Schofield is gone is because some of that squad have thrown him under the bus with their performances. And the players will not shy away from that, and they shouldn't be shying away from that. And the players that aren't sat there and taking responsibility for their performance should hang their heads in shame and probably get the contracts terminated, because I don't want any player here not taking responsibility for their actions and their poor performances. If you've had a poor performance as a player, if you own up to it, you're a man. If you don't own up to it, you don't deserve to wear the badge of Doncaster Rovers Football Club. Simple as that. So the players have to take responsibility. The board has to take responsibility as well. And completely agree with you with that statement. It looked like it shied any responsibility away from that chairman at the club. And no disrespect, because he's a nice guy. Spoke to him a few times. Nice guy in that. But as a football chairman, I'm sorry, but he's just not good enough. Not good enough. And he needs to do some serious work to turn a lot of the opinions of the fan base around. Like I said before, Danny, for me, goes with my best wishes. I'm sure he'll regroup both personally and professionally, and he'll bounce back from this. I've got good, I don't not rate him as a coach. He's a good coach. It just, again, like McSheffrey, I think it was just wrong place, wrong time in the end. As to where we go next, obviously, I know a lot of people are saying Grant McCann, but I just don't 100% believe it yet. So I'm going to go down the route of someone like David Artell or Darryl Clark, or I would take a pop at either Luke Garrard or Andy Woodman, and I don't think Barrow fans will be happy with me saying this, but I would like to see us, if we're going to pay a manager out of his contract, go for Pete Wild. And he's someone I wanted after Wellens got sacked, so I would like us to go back in for Pete Wild.
I think the key now is getting somebody in with experience, isn't it? At this, maybe not necessarily at this level, but experience of managing in the Football League, at least, probably a minimum National League, but who have got games under the belt and a bit of a track record in terms of getting results when it matters. And I think we've seen that with McSheffrey and Danny, that going from youth team football where results don't necessarily matter and performances mean a little bit more and the process means a little bit more, you tend to lose more than you win by sticking to your principles. And credit to Danny for doing that. I mean, he's come out, he's received a ton of abuse, which I think some of it's
been uncalled for.
Yeah, but some of it's warranted. I think, like I said earlier, football's an opinion-based game. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody pays the money, and they should be able to say what they want within reason. I think saying to Danny that they think that this football isn't great, then that's well within their rights. But I think when it went to a personal level, if that actually happened or not, we'll never truly know. I think that's overstepping the mark ultimately for me,
Oh
Danny.
no, I know it's gone to a personal level. I know for a fact, speaking to people and speaking to Danny and that, it's gone to a personal level at times, and it's not called for at all. That's the stuff that's crossing the line. But the stuff, yeah, about his football, look, I get it. I totally get it. My understanding was we were going to recruit for a 2 up front next season, and we were going to just stick with this for the rest of the season and then look at doing better next year with a different system that Danny will work with. But like I said, it's just not meant to be now.
Yeah. So on recruitment, do you think it'll change with a different man in the dugout? Because for me, it seems like Cops and the recruitment team are set. They've not moved. I'm assuming this ring fence budget is still there. I'm really hoping that the board don't come out and say because of this plans have changed. That'd be a very Doncaster Rovers thing to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit uncertain at the minute. Or do you think having Cops in that role is going to kind of give us that stability going through? I mean, I'm at a loss at the minute. I think it could go either way at the minute.
Yeah, there's a possible chance it could go either way. I feel really sorry for Coppinger in the situation. I know he's got to own up to some of the mistakes that's been made this season. I know we can't just put it on. If we put some of it on the board and put some of it on the manager and the players, you've got to put some of it on Coppinger because at the end of the day, he's leading the recruitment team. So
Yeah.
he and his team have got a lot of work to do in the summer to set things right. And look, in terms of recruitment, I think some of it's been set, but that does worry me a bit because if a new manager comes in with certain players that are apparently set as targets or certain players that are here they don't want to work with, we have to try and move them on. And then if not, then we've got a couple of players who don't want to work with, so we have to develop them and try and work around them or through them. So again, it just provides a couple of extra problems. But I think they'd be bringing in. I think they'd be stupid not to bring in a manager that would fit the similar style of recruitment to what we were expecting to go with in the summer if Danny would stay. So I think the principles are still the same. I think experience, promotion winners, a couple of development players, but mainly experience and a bit of physicality in that squad next season is still the primary focus in the transfer window. But like I said, I think I'd be a little bit worried if we weren't bringing in a manager that would fit that principle in the recruitment.
Yeah. And that worries me a bit, Chal, to be honest.
It
Because
does.
if we are continuing down the same process, the same kind of blueprint of what we're wanting, I think we've seen at times this season, especially in League Two, you need rough and ready players, don't you? And I think
Yeah.
maybe we've just lacked that squad depth to be able to change a game. I think potentially under Danny Schofield, you could start in a certain system and try and play pretty football, try and play it out from the back, and that's not necessarily playing that shortest ball. It's finding a medium pass or a long pass. I think that's
Yeah.
he said it time and time again that the decision making sometimes was lacking in the players.
Yeah. And
Maybe
again,
we've
that's
just
on the
not had a good
players.
enough squad. I don't know. But if we're recruiting of a similar level, then we need to be versatile and be able to change it up. I think for me personally, watching games sometimes, you could see the pattern of play. You could see what was going to happen. Grimsby at home comes straight to mind. We're 1-0 up and we look dead on our feet at around 60, 70 minutes. And it didn't change it until 90, 92, 93.
Yeah.
So I don't think Danny's blameless in all of this. I think he could have adapted a little bit better. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bring T Tyke in. He's put a comment: how can you be prepared to give a man more time that's won 5 points out of a possible 30? Completely get you. Like I said, I completely understand fans who are fully Danny Schofield out.
Yeah.
But for me, I just feel the statement says it all. He's not built his own team. He's had a ton of injuries, which I think you can put a portion of the blame to. But ultimately, I just don't think he's had the tools to do the job. And we've said it about Cops in terms of he can only recruit with the money that he's given. Danny can only put a team out with a squad that he's got. And I honestly think you could put any manager in the dugout over the last couple of games or the last couple of months, and we wouldn't have that many more points, if any more points, than what we've got because the squad is just not good enough. and it is
Literally spoke to
massive
literally
summer.
spoke to Maxwell. Literally spoke to Maxwell after a game, and we were talking, and it was a case of the players that are here next season and beyond that do want to commit, that are the better players this season. They have been saying they back this man. They believe he's a good coach. They believe he's, you know, capable of doing something with certain players. Maxwell backed Schofield to the moon and back, so he knew he had a good relationship with the players.
Yeah,
In my opinion, part of the reason why he's gone now is because the players that aren't going to be here next year, the players that haven't been brought in under this manager, that are going to not be here next year, in my opinion, some of them are the ones that have thrown him under the bus and the ones that have put in the poor performances. And my dad says it best. As soon as you step over that white line, it's on your hands as a player. It's on
yeah,
your hands as a person who wears nearly 150 years of history on your shoulder to carry that legacy on and off the pitch for 90 minutes. Off the pitch, yeah, they conduct themselves very, very well. On the pitch, again, just like last year, it consistently just hasn't been good enough. And there is too many players in there that they might not purposely do it, but unfortunately, they are stealing a wage check. Might not be a
yeah,
lot, but they're stealing a wage check, not putting in the right performances to get us competing in that division. And I think this season, no matter what manager was in charge, I think it was a massive wake up call for the majority of that fan base this year of how tough League Two actually is and how different it was from 5 years ago.
yeah. I'd agree with that. Knights in the chat as well. Have you seen the top 9 from the 1920 season? 3 in the Championship playoffs right now, and could be Prem. Portsmouth and Charlton still in League One. Donny now in League Two, and it just shows the fall that we've had. And
Yeah.
I think,
Where's Netflix? Where's the documentary?
yeah, it'd be easy money, wouldn't it? But I don't know. I think questions need to be asked to David Blunt. I think. I think questions also need to be asked to Cops, but I feel Cops is having to kind of firefight at the minute. And for me, there's one problem, and it's been a consistent problem now for a number of years. What I don't want us to fall into is a Watford where we're constantly just going after managers
changing.
constantly. I think we've seen over the last 3 or 4 managers, Butler's not gone on and done anything. So you can look back in hindsight and say that's the wrong appointment. McSheffrey's not come back into football. So until we see him at another club, we can't really say if he's good or not.
Yeah. He's
Based on
taking
Danny
time out with his
Schofield's track.
family. I think he's taking time out with his family, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Danny Schofield, based on his track record, probably not the best appointment, but until we see him at another club under different circumstances, you can't really cast that much judgment on him other than what we've seen, which some people think it's poor. Personally, I think he's just been given a really tough hand to play with. The one for me is Wellens.
Yeah.
Under us, absolutely diabolical, really poor. Probably the poorest football that I've seen, poorest man management that I've seen at the club for a long time. But he's gone to Leyton Orient and it's clicked. It's worked. Is under different circumstances. He's been backed by the board, and he came out himself and said it's all about players. It's about money. That's what wins your games. And I don't know if that was alluding to what's happening at Donny.
It's weird, you know, because I look back at the Donny spell now and I see similarities to what happened at Salford over the few months he was there, where he wasn't given time to implement the style because certain factors. So with us, it was certain resources. With Salford, it was just, even though he won a trophy and got a tune out of some of them players, it was just a lack of time.
Yeah.
So I saw similarities of what happened with Salford. Obviously, the documentary exposed a lot of it, but I saw a lot of similarities with his spell at Salford. And, you know, I am glad for Wellens getting promoted. I think as a Donny fan, it's unbearable right now because Wellens is up and Steve Evans is up and Darren Moore's in the playoffs. So it's unbearable at the moment. And I swear, one of our old trialists from 3 years ago, one of our old trialists from 3 years ago, Jordan Davis, is now in a Wrexham side that's just gone back into the Football League. So, you know, and there's other trialists that have gone on and done very well. I think Donovan Daniels, who did poorly with us, is now in a Walsall side that's about to go under a new manager next season, a brand new process, whether that be Kevin Phillips.
They've had a tough season as well, haven't they?
I think the Real EFL mentioned an article about Troy Deeney being an option from Birmingham Live, which I don't believe at all, but there we go. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems to be trialists and other players that go on to do really well and managers that do really well elsewhere. But we have to stop the rot. It's a losing culture that's over the last 3 years and has to stop.
Yeah, and I think it starts with a big appointment for a manager.
10 days. 10
yeah,
days.
Conky said McCann. One Rovers vlogs is in the chat. Good afternoon. League One football once again for Charlie. We will get back there one day, mate.
How's John been? How's Marquise been at Rovers?
Yeah, if you don't need him, we'll take him.
I'd take him back. If Grant McCann gets John Marquise back and gets in the likes of Alex Cairns and that's a statement already.
Yeah. Darryl Clark. I mean, you mentioned Darryl earlier on. I think is a shout, isn't he? If McCann's kind of
the thing about Darryl, the concern I have with Darryl Clark is there was a lot of noise being made after he left Port Vale about working with the director of football or some kind of director. Would he do that again at Doncaster with a head of football operations? Yes, it's different to a technical director or a director of football, but it seemed like there was alluding to some kind of problem at Port Vale with him under a director of football when he left Port Vale. So I don't know if that's a factor in maybe him against the decision, but I don't know.
I think McCann would get bums on seats, wouldn't he? I think looking back over the last 6-7 years, I'd probably say McCann was the period of football that I enjoyed the most because, you might have conceded 3 in a game, but you might have scored 4 because it was that kind of football. It was literally that. If you score 3, we'll try and score 4. I think that's what we want as fans. You pay your money. You're never guaranteed a win, a draw, or a defeat. But what you want to be is entertained. You wouldn't go to the West End or a Broadway show, pay your money, and sit there bored. You'd be frustrated. So I think that's the same with football. It's sport, but also it's an entertainment industry, isn't it? And
it's literally over the last 3 years. It's like we've been advertised Shrek the Musical and gone to watch a silent movie. It's
it's not been entertaining at all, has it?
And like you said, Grant gets bums on seats. If Grant gets announced in 10 days' time, look what will happen to those season ticket sales. I'm kind of glad that I've renewed mine early now because the season ticket sales could end up going through the bloody roof.
Yeah, I'm not sure if reports are right in terms of numbers of how far we're down or not. Obviously, next supporters board or shadow board, I'll ask the question, but you never know. You see so much reported here, there, and everywhere on social media. You're never sure what's true and what's not. I do think they're down. They've got to be because it's been poor season after poor season. I can't see 100% or even 80% of people renewing. So I do think they are down, but to what extent, I do not know.
My hope is that the board have finally looked at what's happened over the last couple of seasons and the drop in season tickets for next season already and said, right, we need to do something, a bit of a statement here. We need to actually get off our ass and do something. But that's my only hope.
The difficult thing is, Chal, I mean, the season tickets are such good value. It's
still one of the best in League One.
Can't drop it anymore because we've not got the fan base to pull through. You look at Bradford, their attendances this season, I think they've averaged more than a lot of League One teams. And that's mind blowing. It's the 4th tier of English football, and they've got 22,500 fans there on the final day.
Yeah,
we
were
in the Championship and we struggled to get 15,000.
Yeah,
and the desire's not there in Doncaster for whatever reason, be it the experience down at the ground, be it the prices, be it the product on the pitch. Us as shadow board members, we need to know what it is so that we can actually try and address it and improve it and get bums on seats and improve the whole situation. But ultimately, it starts on the pitch, doesn't it? And the pitch has been dire.
It does. And to be fair, you mentioned Bradford. That's a good example because they kind of solidified last season when Mark Hughes first came in. Yes, it's a different manager to Danny Schofield, but what they did was they solidified with a pragmatic approach until the end of the season and solidified their finish. And then this season, what they've gone on to do is work and really build a statement of intense season. And now look where they are. They're in the playoffs. They're fighting for a spot back in League One, which is arguably where the minimum they deserve to be. So, Bradford have gone on and backed their man. Yes, there's been concerns about the board in previous years, etc. But what Bradford have done is they've answered those queries over the past few seasons, and they've gone on and delivered that statement of intent. And that's what other clubs have done as well. Even clubs that were lower than us a few years ago, the likes of, Stockport County have invested, and they've backed the right horse. They've backed the right horse to win this Grand National. So over, Stockport, Barrow is a prime example. Finished low last season, brought in Pete Wild, who I said we should have had after Wellens got sacked. He brings in his style of football, brings in the right personnel, and they finish just outside the playoffs. And that's not where many people predict them to be. And I said at the start of the season, Barrow are my dark horses. So Barrow are, in my opinion, overachieving this season.
I put them 20th.
I think I put them like 7th or 8th. I'm not too sure. I can't remember what I did with David Artell in terms of my prediction, but I think David Artell put them in the top 10, but I think I put them 8th. So
yeah, I had an absolute shocker on my predictions, to be fair. I need to do a video for that soon.
Mate, I predicted Donny to finish like 7th or 8th, and that kind of
I had playoffs. I had an absolute mare on the predictions this year. But no, I only wanted to be on for about half an hour, just to kind of get stuff off my chest, let people come in on the chat. I appreciate you coming on, Chal, as well, and having a chat. Obviously, try and talk to our lass about this, and she's not bothered. So it's nice to have a community to vent at and just get stuff off his chest. So
I thought our season was over. I thought we were going to be for a nice, peaceful summer. People having an odd moan here and there. We'll make a statement on social media, etc., and we'll just have a more peaceful summer and just go into it with a little bit more optimism and just try and think something positive. And now it's like literally my transfer videos could gone completely out of the window for July because I've got to rethink all my targets now. The new manager's going to come in 10 days.
You've been researching that since like March.
February, like middle of February, I've been researching, and literally I've done about 5 months work on it, and now I'm going to throw half of it out the window depending who comes in.
Never a dull day being a Donny fan.
No. I'll tell you what though, if Grant McCann ends up becoming the manager again, not only is it a good statement of intent for permanence, it's a good statement of intent to attract start loan players as well. And I know a lot of people don't like loan players, but you bring in 3 or 4 loan players.
Mike Wilkes all came in under McCann, didn't they? So
absolutely. And the next stage of that is if he comes in and we go up next season, and there's a couple of those loan players that are star players that could end up playing in the Premier League or the Championship one day.
Yeah,
and he wants them on a permanent basis, whether it's out of contracts in the summer afterwards or a year left, etc. If they back him this time and do what he wants, we're going to get more success under him than we did under the 1 year that we had previously. So it's all about what the board do. If McCann's their man and he comes back, if I was David Blunt, I would just zip,
resign.
Listen. Yeah, literally zip, listen to Grant and James, listen and do everything they say. Be their puppet, be their little string. Do what they ask because they are the right people to make the decisions for a football club, not a football business.
Yeah, I do think to put a little bit of balance to that statement, I do agree with you. I think we need to be very football focused, but I do think we need that balance of being within our means. And I think I agree with Cops in terms of what he's saying about the transfer philosophy that they're going with in terms of free transfers and stuff. I'd sooner see us bring free transfers in and be able to pay a little bit more wages and put some more meat on the bones of the squad than lump £500,000 on a player.
Don't get me wrong. This is not me saying, spend outside our means at all. I want us to keep within our means because we don't want to end up making that mistake of spending well outside our means. Yes, we'll get promotions, etc., but then end up in a situation where we finish low in a high division and we end up having loads of players on huge wages and end up in a massive amount of debt. I don't want us to do that. Spend within our means. Look at the Lincoln example with the youth. 7 academy graduates in their first team this season in the top half of League One. Learn from the Lincoln example long term. Use that model as part of your development plan. Spend inside our means. And not only will we be self-sustainable, we'll also be competitive with a decent manager and a decent squad of players playing for nearly 150 years of history.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of examples of teams that have done it well. You look at Luton, look at Brighton, Brentford, so many. So yeah, I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
examples and blueprints that we can look at and try and copy.
Sorry,
Before we
there's
do,
just one quick thing that I wanted to just mention as well that I can't forget.
go for it before you forget.
Before I forget, and it's very important because I think Salford made this mistake on a previous season, and I think we've kind of done it. We've done a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I think we've mistaken that for a while for the years of decline on the pitch, and that is to keep going with the community work as well. It's very important to reach
100%.
out to the community. Salford made that mistake on one of their seasons. I think it was actually the seasons where Wellens left and Bowyer finished the job before it became permanent. I think it was a case of they kind of ignored the community a bit, and then they invested in the fan zone, they invested in like the little family room, they invested in all different stuff. I want to see us really use this as an opportunity when the manager comes in, whether that's Grant McCann or someone else, to really reach out, to knock on people's doors and say, you know, we're back. We are bringing this ambition to the club now. We've got this guy back. We want to do this, this, and this. We need your help. We're going to reach out to sponsors, reach out to businesses and clubs within the community, reach out to them. There's plenty of stuff you can do. Learn from other clubs, and there's plenty of stuff you can do. So this is a really big opportunity now for Doncaster Rovers to not only bring back stability and ambition on the pitch, but also off the pitch. It's a wonderful opportunity to become one of the best community clubs in this country.
Yeah, I think we're pioneering in that in certain areas for sure. We've won awards for the community work and family work that we do. So I think the team probably don't get enough credit, to be fair. I know Club Doncaster gets its fair share of hammerings on social media, but I think a lot of people just want to go and watch football and enjoy football. But I think the team at Doncaster Rovers, from my experience, there's some people who work absolutely tirelessly. So it's bad at the minute, but good times will come back. Before we round off, though, let's quickly fly through any comments that came in. Private J said if he'd shown flexibility to try and change things to get the best out of the squad, he had until he was given a transfer window, then he might still have a job. He refused, so no sympathy from me. Yeah, I get your point. Like we said earlier on in the stream, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's entitled to it, and I think that one's right. To be fair, he was very stubborn. He was very, very stubborn with his setup and his system and everything. And I think a good coach should be able to be versatile and change it and get the best out of a bad bunch. And Danny didn't, so maybe the decision's been correct. We've got One Rovers Vlogs, got Marcus on a free, considering he's only had 20 starts all season. In all competitions, he's finished with 11 goals, 3 assists. Really like him. What else have we got?
I've sent you a link, by the way, because Rob Statton's just tweeted. Basically, McCann's the one we're aiming for.
Lovely stuff. I'd take McCann. Joshua said down by half. I've read Bradley's renewing his season ticket after the news today.
This is what it brings. This brings an optimism.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling being a Donny fan and having optimism.
Around
the grounds, asked a question: if you guys were above Danny, would you have sacked him or backed him? I've said it. I'd have backed him. I think for me, I'm a person who wants to give people a chance. So I'd have backed him, but I completely understand other fans' frustrations with the results and with the style of play and everything else. We'll never know if backing him would have helped or not. So, Chal, question to you: sacked him or backed him?
I would have backed him, but I would have gone either back him as first team manager, or I would have backed him as being an assistant manager to a more experienced number one and let him learn from him.
There we go. Joshua, I want Cole Stockton. I think everybody in League One also wants Cole Stockton. That will be a tough.
I tell you what, though, Grant McCann. If someone can attract someone like Stockton, it could be McCann. You never know.
Yeah, that's it. Worko has been on the 72 review a few times. Luton's ethos to get up into the Championship is probably the long-term thing to follow for Donny. Completely agree with that. Punk Chef, he is part of the furniture on this channel as well. If I could be on, lads, I would. If you're still in when I get back, I will. But you need a new direction from the top before you can do that for the manager and stuff. Completely agree. I think, like we've said earlier in the stream, we don't want to fall into that pattern of churning through managers because we're constantly focusing on the manager if the problem's higher up. Bailey, I I think he goes to every home and away game. I see him interact quite a lot with Doncaster Rovers, and his views fairly balanced from what I've seen on social media. He's seeing a lot more tweets about McCann now. Rob Staten from Chefs just posted saying McCann's the one we're aiming for. So yeah, keep your eye on this pattern of news over the next couple of days. Matty Dunn, it's a shame how the attendance at the Keynote is going down so quickly. Like we said earlier, it's about being entertained, and at the minute we have not been entertained. Nat's in. Afternoon, lads and chat. Good afternoon, Nat. And Billy Sharp, Coppinger wanted Sean O'Driscoll type, and Danny Schofield was that guy, unfortunately, in League Two. You have to play two up top, get the ball into the front men quicker, and play higher up the pitch. A one-dimensional manager isn't the go.
I love his name, by the way.
Yeah. Hopefully. I'd like to see him in a Rovers shirt again. He's a free agent this summer. But no, I think we'll leave it there. I think we've got a lot off our chest. Obviously, it's a summer of uncertainty once again. Thanks, Chal, for coming on and having a chat with us. I've enjoyed this half an hour. Like I say, a lot off his chest. Obviously, we do the Rambling Rovers, so I will put this out into the community. Chal, would you like to come on to Rambling Rovers?
I would absolutely love to. Literally, I'm doing this today in the middle of working on my new brands for next season. So I would love to come on. It's the best possible time.
Lovely stuff. So if you guys want to see that, let us know in the comments down below, and we will get something organised where we'll discuss Charles' life as a Rovers fan, what got him into it, and YouTube and out of context Charles, you name it. There'll be an half an hour solid on Charles on the channel if you guys want it. But yeah, that for me, the news is in. Danny Schofield is gone. Uncertainty. Is it going to be Grant McCann? Is it going to be a successful season next season? Who knows? Stay tuned, and I'm sure we will keep you updated. One of us will anyway. But no, if you've enjoyed it, please stick a big thumbs up on it. Comments in the section down below. Subscribe to Charles if you haven't already. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. As always, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.